Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's exclusive analysis. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the importance of the market price action today and what transpired really with the mega caps and the small cap stocks. So, noticing the S&P 500 finished down today on the session closing down 0.35 percentage points or losing $1.48 on the daily session. But then you look at the RSP, so the equal weight, and a lot of people don't compare the equal weighting when the market, the overall indice, the main indice is falling. And what you'll notice if you do compare the actual equal weight here, the RSP was actually up today. It had a potential breakout here on heavy volume. So what this is telling me is that we could be in the near-term cusp of where we see specifically the mega cap tech names, QQQ and the likes, start to really fall apart and lose some of the momentum that it's had in these parabolic moves. You know, the likes of Apple, Microsoft, Google. Because for the RSP to actually be up 0.74% when the main SPY ETF is up just shows you where the selling was taking place. It was really taking place in the Magna stocks, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Nvidia, Amazon. So those are primarily the stocks that were being sold off today, and that's why you saw the equal weighting outperform the overall indice. If you look at the QQQ, you know, the QQQs had that pretty big sell-off. I'll show you the NDX here. The NASDAQ 100 over here is a pretty important chart. Very simple chart in my opinion to basically watch. I think it's very clear that we can all agree this is the breakout level where we could likely expect the next big major bounce in the market. If basically you draw a fib from this high to the low, you have a 618 retrace on the overall indice. And what this tells me is that even if the markets were to fall to this level, it doesn't mean they can't hold this technical support and bounce and start another leg higher. In the grand scheme of things, a pullback to this breakout level would actually be very healthy. And even if you filled this breakaway gap, that would be even healthier on the NDX NDQ over here. If you look at on the QQQ, you can clearly see a healthy pullback would likely bring you back down to this 33 level. And today's sell-off happened on pretty extreme volume, but you're still holding this potential symmetrical bullish channel that could always have a technical bounce off of this level. But when there's heavy volume, you want to be paying attention to it. If you look at the QQQE, you know, the balance, the equal weighted Qs, this one was a little bit of a pretty nasty sell-off as well, but it wasn't as bad as the overall QQQ. And again, what that tells me is this only was down 1.08%. The QQQ itself was down 1.7. It just shows you the likes that there was a lot more selling in Apple. There was obviously selling in Nvidia today. That transpired. The Nvidia chart's interesting because you have triggered a couple of these potential bearish patterns. Now, Nvidia has notorious for negating, you know, topping formations, but there's a left shoulder ahead, right shoulder that's triggered. You also have another little one over here. Basically, both targets take you down around this 338 level, and you have to be mindful that that could play out in the near term. Obviously, with several hours of continuous downside coming into this potential previous pivot zone, this reversal candle, you could always see a little bit of a minor bounce. But right now, the price action is seeing a little bit more of a pullback and deeper pullback in the semis. Even if you look at AMD, still looking very toppy on the daily. It looks like it wants to fill that gap. If you look at the reversal candle on the SMH, it was pretty nasty today. So certainly a lot of selling was in the mega cap tech and the semiconductors today. And granted, they've been some of the best performing stocks, but definitely very sensitive to potentially higher interest rates as we move along. And obviously, the sell-off really happened because of the Bank of Canada doing a surprise rate hike in the overall market, and that sent the yields ripping higher. I mean, the Bank of Canada was the first bank to pivot and really pause and see if their quantitative tightening efforts have materially impacted the inflation fight. And clearly, over the last 2 month-over-month data, they were wrong, which means that the Fed is also likely going to be a little bit more aggressive. But if you look at the Canadian 10-year, so the CA10Y, it's truly an impressive breakout on the chart from this being one of the more dovish banks, central banks, to now looking like a beautiful technical breakout on the daily chart. A move into resistance, a healthy check back, and then an absolute face ripper breakout to the upside. No question about that. Once you clear this pivot, it likely means that this chart could test the double top and make a new nominal high in the chart, which means that if this was the most dovish bank and these yields are breaking out, you could certainly expect the 2-year yield to likely break out very soon. And we have, this 2-year yield consolidating bullishly to move higher. I do think we're momentarily going to see a breakout in the yields. Tomorrow we could see strong labor data with the jobless claims. If that comes in better than expected, a stronger number, yields could break out tomorrow. And that's certainly what the trend right now in the daily chart is proving and posting to be. Really, that's going to sum up today's video. Obviously, with the weakness in the crypto continuing, we're clearly seeing Binance being pretty much liquidated here. I mean, this is some heavy sell-off. Not a healthy chart on Binance. And if this chart really starts to break down, this is the big support zone. If you really have no technical support in this zone, and this is what we're going to see what this coin is made out of, because if you negate this whole level here, I mean, this would be a horrific drop in the Bitcoin ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem. It would mean that this coin is likely could be considered a potential Ponzi and maybe some sort of caught in some fraud, manipulation, etc. We'll see what this lawsuit basically comes about, but definitely the price action is taking it very seriously. And when you compare it to the strength in the Bitcoin price, Bitcoin's holding up much better than the BNB token, which is certainly some of an interesting correlation that I'm going to continue to pay attention to. On that note, we'll see you on the charts tomorrow. I still am in the process of moving and renovating, transforming a new recording studio and a new place of residence. So we're in the process of that. So my content hasn't been as frequent as usual, but definitely still trying to post videos where I can find time and worthy analysis to post and things that I do think the market needs to be aware of. But overall, we'll continue to try to post videos where we can, but still in the process of moving really up until the first couple weeks in July. On that note, take care, everybody. We'll see you on the charts a bit later.